Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our team webinar. I need you to give me just a couple of moments here. We were having problems with our headset on yesterday, so we just plugged up a new one and getting used to it. I need just a couple minutes here before we get started. Bear with me, bear with me. Now, the purpose of this webinar is much like the purpose of the webinar we did last night. Of course, the company had a corporate webinar to share what the company has done, is doing, will continue to do to make sure that we have a long-term and viable business model. Then we came back and did a webinar late last night, 11:30 p.m. is when we got started, just to make sure that we were able to disseminate more information, more details of what the company's been doing behind the scenes, why the company's been doing those things behind the scenes, what necessitated some of the things that the company needed to do for the protection of all of us. And so I'm going to pretty much repeat a good amount of that. If you were here on late last night, this may be a review, but I'm sure that it will not hurt you to hear some of these things again. As a matter of fact, as you maybe have teammates that were not on any of the webinars last night, this will probably assist you in assisting them to understand that we're here for the long haul. And sometimes when you are a leader, sometimes as a leader you have to make decisions that many people will understand and agree with, and sometimes other people won't. But as J. Joshua Bishel likes to say, when he and I are having our conversations, he's got a fiduciary responsibility. He's got a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that this business is here for the long haul. Okay, give me just a moment. Give me just a moment. Give me just a moment. All right. I'm going to take just some very quick introductions, and then we'll go on and get things started here. Wow, a good amount of people on a afternoon webinar at a time that we don't normally have a webinar. Hey, Ken from Maryland, Kenny, I'm sorry, buddy. Good to see you, my friend. Hey, Fred, good to see you. Jeanette, Dennis, Bill, Jimmy, Sam, good to see you, my friend. As always, ladies and gentlemen, would love for you to put your name and your, tell us what part of the world you are from, and if you know your quality score, okay, your quality score. Hey, Ron, good to have you. Hey, Clarence, fantastic to have you. George from Australia, good to have you. Hey, George, I just hit you back on Skype, so hopefully you saw that. Hey, David, forgive me. Hey, man, good to see you. Good to see you, man. Hey, Dave from Virginia, good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the webinar. A few more introductions. We're going to get things started here. Sean, welcome. Is it Stephen or Stefan? Welcome. My buddy Tyron, welcome. Christian, welcome. Marquita, Mike, Minnie, Nina, Rick, Robert, Ron, Sam, Sean, Walter, James, Jeff, Jimmy, Betty, Bill, and Marie. Welcome. Okay. Let's go on and get things started. I'm going to do some writing here up on my whiteboard here. First off, I need to see if you were not able to attend. You did not attend any of the webinars we had yesterday. The corporate webinar at 9 p.m. Eastern, the team webinar that we did immediately following at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. If you were not able to attend any of those webinars, if you would put a N for no, I was not. No, I was not able to attend. If you put an N in your questions box, if you were not able to attend. If you were not able to attend. Wow, someone's got a 97% quality score. That's amazing. Good for you. Okay, thank you, Frank. Anyone else? Because there's quite a few folks here for an afternoon webinar. Okay, so somebody had to leave early. Gotcha. Thank you. All right, Jimmy. Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically do what I did last night anyway. Now, so this should pretty much catch most people up to date. All right, so now Obviously, we have a revenue sharing model, a revenue sharing compensation plan. And some of you have been with us for quite a while. We first stumbled into this revenue sharing space a couple of years ago. It's been a little more than a couple of years ago now. March 23rd, excuse me, 2011 is when we stumbled upon this space. And it took us about 4 or 5 months for us to really understand what was going on. And then we fell in love with it because this was a model that for the first time we were seeing our average Joe, our average Sue, that hadn't been good at recruiting or sponsoring or selling starting to make money. The company that we started with was a company called Zeke Rewards. Many of you are familiar with Zeke Rewards. Now, by December of now this was March 23rd, 2011. By December 2011, we had built a pretty large network, pretty large organization with Zeke Rewards. A lot of people were making money, so I know we weren't the top earners or anything like that, but we built a fairly sizable organization, and we were considered leaders of the company, and we were invited on a conference call December of 2011. The chief operations officer of the company, had kind of like an inner circle, and she said, we've been advised by our attorneys to input some additional sales criteria. At that point, essentially, you bought bids, you gave them away. There was no criteria as to how many of the bids had to be used by customers. At that time, there were no customer requirements. You didn't have to go and get customers to be able to earn. So she said we have to implement some customer requirements, so on and so forth. And this was kind of to prep leaders for what was coming, so that then leaders could go to their teams and say, okay, boy, I know when we first got here there was no customers and no customer requirements, but now we need to have customers, so on and so forth. Give us just a moment. I am on a webinar. I'm sorry. I've got my son is out of school for the summer. My little girl's out of school, so forgive me there. All right, so now what happened was nothing. Meaning, while they said they were going to infuse some additional requirements and sales requirements and so on and so forth, they never did. Now, I don't know why they never did, okay? I don't know why they never did, all right? January comes, this was December 2011. January comes, February, March, April, May, June, July, and all of a sudden, unfortunately, on August, I think it was the 16th, on August the 16th, with no warrant, with really no warning. We heard that there was a regulatory inquiry. We were told that the regulatory inquiry was pretty simple, not a big deal. It could happen for a few weeks. There might need to be some modifications, so on and so forth. And that's what we were told on Thursday. I think it was August the 15th. August the 16th.
16th. That was the 16th.
It was the 16th, okay. On August the 16th.
That was Thursday, and then Friday is the 17th.
Okay, so it's Friday the 17th. On Friday the 17th, I think someone sent me a text and say, hey, check out this post, and unfortunately that company was no longer in business. It happened very abruptly. If you were a part of that experience, in your questions box, put a Y for yes. If you were a part of that experience and you know what it's like to all of a sudden your business and your income completely is gone now. Okay, so many of you understand that. Okay, so then Queen, obviously it was devastating. Unfortunately, we never, ever, ever heard from anybody in management. Now, I could imagine that the owner of the company, probably his attorneys wouldn't let him speak or what have you. But there were some other folks that I would have hoped to have heard from, maybe some people who were doing the webinars for the company that weren't necessarily considered management. We never heard from anybody. At least I never did. I never heard there was a conference call or webinar. So if there was something that was out there, I just wasn't aware of it, okay? So nothing. So we really don't know in the field what really happened. All right, now, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Success and failure on the same road. Success is a little further down the road. We didn't have a choice, Queen. The company was gone. We needed to replace income. So many other people needed to replace income. Do we go back to traditional MLM, where we knew that for the most part our average people were not going to be able to generate money. As a matter of fact, Queen, I can tell you I got an extremely, extremely lucrative offer to be what's called a master distributor for a company called Vita Cup. This was a new company that was in the healthy coffee space, and Queen, I knew that 4 of the top 6 income earners in this entire industry were promoting a healthy coffee product with the same compensation model, a binary compensation model. Queen, if I had gone with him, I would have been at the top of the heap, okay? Everybody in the company, based on what I was told or what the pitch to me was, would be on my team. I chose not to go that route because I figured even though I would make a lot of money, a lot of my folks wouldn't. And so we wanted to see if there was any merit to this revenue sharing model. Could it be that the model was broken? If the model was broken, I wanted to know, because then that would have a determining factor as to, you know, my direction, and then what I would be suggesting to anyone who's willing to listen and follow. If the model wasn't broken, but maybe that company didn't dot some I's, cross some T's, you know, and if there was the potential that the model could work, then Queen, it was really tough not to at least go down that avenue, okay? And that's what we said to our following. It so happened that we had a conversation with a consultant that was a consultant for Zeke Rewards, Dr. Keith Lagos. Dr. Lagos, I spent hours with him. Is the model broken? Is it inherently broken? Did they just not dot some I's, cross some T's? And Dr. Lagos had been hired by a new company that was about to launch, that was also going to have a revenue sharing model, different take on it. It wasn't just going to be dealing with bids. It was going to have some travel components and ultimately even have their own shopping portal, so on and so forth. And because of my respect for Dr. Lagos, and he told me, well, they didn't dot some I's, didn't cross some T's, but no, this model can be defended. I believe strongly in this model. So we got started with a company called Go Fund Places. The Go Fund Places was partly owned by a parent company that owned by a group of Asian businessmen. I flew out to California. I met with the owners. I also met with the U.S.-based ownership. So it was 5 partners, if you will. The Asian-based ownership group were 2 of the guys, and then the other 3 were U.S. citizens, and they represented the Go Fund Places part. So we got started with that company. We were we felt like that was going to be the standard bearer in the industry, because they were adding things exciting like travel and some shopping and so on and so forth. A few months into it, we started to see some things we didn't quite like, things that concerned us. We flew back out there on our own dime from the East Coast to the West Coast to get a feel as to what was going on the inside. And unfortunately, when we sat down with the entire management team, we saw that the management team was very, very fractured. We reported some of the things to our audience. Some things were not prudent to discuss. In this industry, Queen, you don't spread negatives down and around. You only, if you have a negative experience, you want to take that to your upline. You don't want to spread that down and around. But I had to balance that, Queen, with I knew that people were following us and making some decisions, some life decisions as what they were going to promote and so on and so forth, based in part on what we had seen and what we had experienced. We came back to our audience in December and said, well, guys, we were out there, didn't like some stuff, but we were going to give them a chance. We gave them a list of 32 things that we want them to take care of. They didn't take care of many of those things. And by January of this year, I felt like I could no longer, in good faith, continue to promote that company. I told that to our audience. The Queen, one of the things I never did, even when I shared that with our audience, I never went in Skype chat rooms and talked negatively about the company or talked negatively about the owners or talked negatively about the management team. I did let our audience know that I did not feel that the Asian ownership side of things really understood what we needed to build in the U.S. and Canada and Australia and Israel, so on and so forth. And I did it on a webinar that was recorded, okay? But I never went into a Skype chat room. I never went on Facebook. And I never did anything to disparage the character of the owner, so on and so forth. Unfortunately, they made a move that impacted a lot of people. I think it was on May 1 of this year. They chose, without any notice to the field, they chose to abandon all of their U.S. affiliates. They terminated all of their U.S. affiliates. Now, I'm going somewhere with this because I want to chronicle some things so you understand why the company has done some things, okay, in terms of bringing on additional attorneys and so on and so forth. All right, so Queen, now, if you were a part of that company and you woke up and you went into your back office to check your daily rewards, and all of a sudden you got a notice that says you've been terminated. If you were part of that company, put a yes in your questions box. Yeah.
I don't have a questions box.
Okay. Okay. So now, so what we've seen from many of you that have followed us, now by the time that they terminated their U.S. affiliates, they had already suspended my account, had suspended my dad's account without, letting us know why. They never communicated with us. I know that that one of the top leaders is a couple, phenomenal couple. I'm big fans of theirs, Wendy and Linton and Wendy Vandersteen. They had been summoned to the corporate office the week before that company just abandoned the U.S. affiliates. They thought that there were going to be some modifications to either the comp plan or maybe some requirements or what have you, and they thought even the day before that the company was about to come out with some new enhancements and modifications, so on and so forth, and they didn't even get a phone call. They didn't even get a text from anyone from corporate. They got a text from one of their teammates saying, Linton, Wendy, have you been in your back office? We've been terminated. And so that company just went away, Queen. They cowered out, just went away. Never had a conference call, never had a webinar to my knowledge to explain anything. They just went away. And my international folks have told me that if they had not known what was going on, that nothing's really been discussed about that particular situation. So they're still operating outside of the U.S., but everyone that was in the U.S., you had commissions coming, that stopped, so on and so forth. Now, why do I bring all this up? Because this is important for us to know. When that happened, particularly on May 1, okay, and Queen, understand that GoFund Places had originally retained, now I don't know if they still had them on retainer, but had originally retained the MLM law firm, which is one of the top MLM law firms in our industry, of Gerald Nera, and I think his name is Richard Walk. When I went to that company, GoFund Places, back in October of last year, they had a soft launch event in California. Mr. Walk, one of the attorneys, that what happens in this industry, Queen, the attorneys don't write the compensation plans. Consultants do, okay? But then they run those plans by the attorney. Everything from the percentage payouts to requirements, what does the promoter need to do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, how much sales needs to be there, so on and so forth. Well, Walk, now I think Nera and Walk are their business partners, and I don't know that Nera had much to do with GoFund Places. I don't know that Nera has had much to do with JubiRev, Jubi Max. But I know Walk was the one that I saw. I met him at that event. Now, we're not bosom buddies or anything like that. You know, I saw him from the stage, so on and so forth. Okay. Well, guess who JubiRev had as their initial attorneys? Nera and Walk. Okay? If you were with us, Queen, during the pre-registration stage, before anybody ever purchased anything, we were doing webinars. We were telling people what was coming, what the income opportunity was going to be like, all that good stuff. And the website had come up, so you could register, you could come in and check things out. And we were going to post, the company was going to post a compensation PDF so that you could see all the compensation, all the 10 ways the company paid, any requirements, so on and so forth. And, you know, we said, hey, it should be up this Friday as an example, okay? Because we were under the impression that Walk and his team, you know, were about to finalize, you know, any things that they wanted the company to make some adjustments on, so on and so forth. Well, that went back and forth and back between the company and Walk and the company for quite some time. And finally, we had our compensation PDF. All right, so now, at this point, company launches, we've got a compensation plan, so on and so forth. May 1 happens. Go Fund Places goes away in the U.S. And what they used as their excuse, if you will, was that under the advice of their legal counsel, they were essentially leaving the U.S. Well, Queen, they never said who the legal counsel was. J. Joshua Beisel knew that we had the same legal counsel that they had. Now, whether they had changed legal counsel or added someone else, who knows? But J. Joshua knew that we had the same legal counsel, Nera and Walk, that they did. So wait a minute. If they're saying they're leaving the U.S. because something's not right with their compensation plan, I didn't buy that, Queen. Okay, I didn't buy that because I had dealt with the Asian ownership team, and I had not found them to be men of honor. I had found them to be men of dishonor. And even though I had found them to be men of dishonor, guess what? I never went into a Skype chat room and discussed it because that's not what you do in this industry. Okay? I let our team know that I was concerned about things, but hey, Queen, I never told you to leave that company, did I? Never told you to leave that company. You had income coming in. All right? I just told you you might want to consider a plan B. All right? And that's where, for many of us, Jubi came into play. All right, so in any event, so I want you to understand that here this company goes away. They said because of the legal counsel, well, hey, we have the same legal counsel. Huh. Wait a minute. So now what J. Joshua does is there's a consultant with the company that has some really strong connections, and this consultant took it upon themselves, okay, to meet with somebody who's an attorney general. Now, I don't know which state. Let me make sure you understand this. The attorney general did not come to us. There was no regulatory inquiry. Attorney general did not knock on our door and say, hey, we want you to open. None of that happened. Our consultant, one of our consultants, went to someone they knew that was an attorney general. Also went to someone that they knew that was in the SEC. Make this very clear. Did the SEC come calling? No. Did the SEC knock on our door? No. Okay? And basically, from what I'm told, and I did speak a little bit with this particular consultant, basically what I'm told is that the consultant didn't say, hey, we're JubiRev, Jubi Max, here, take a look at our compensation plan and, you know, tell us what you like, what you don't like, okay? Which typically regulators aren't going to do that anyway unless they come to you for an inquiry. What I'm told by the consultant that met with these folks, what I'm told is that he basically wanted to find out what was their overall take, Queen. As you as an AG, what's your overall take on companies that have this type model? SEC, what's your overall take on companies that have this model? And both the AG and the SEC shared what their concerns with this type model happens to be. Now, one of the things that I know was a huge concern of the SEC was the public perception. Give me a moment. The public perception that these models are investments. And as a matter of fact, from what I understand from this consultant, that was one of the overriding issues. And what also came out of this consultant's meetings with an AG, don't know what state, and someone from the SEC, don't know how high up they were or were not, or what have you, is that companies that have a revenue sharing model are under magnified scrutiny. Now, Queen, most companies, most MLM companies, there's some basic things that we know regulators want to see. We know that regulators want to see that there are more customers buying the product than there are reps promoting the opportunity. It's called a customer to rep ratio. That's kind of been standard, all right, for as long as I can remember. And Queen, I do have a little inside experience because I was part owner of a network marketing company from 2006 to 2008. Unfortunately, you probably never heard of it. We never really made a splash or anything like that. But it was great for learning experience. And it did allow me to see, Queen, the other side, the non-rep side, things that reps would, in most cases, never experience or never understand or ever never know. All right. So, in any event, that doesn't make me any better than anybody. That just gives me a different perspective. That's all I wanted to bring out on that. All right. So, in any event, what they said was that companies that have a revenue sharing model are under more scrutiny. Now, here's what tends to happen in the traditional MLM space. Okay. Let's say, Queen, that you are a company and you have consumable products. You've got beauty products, skincare. You've got weight loss products. You've got healthy coffee. These are the types of products that we have or are coming. Early on, first year, 2, 3 years, if Mr. Regulator came to almost any traditional MLM company, that customer to rep ratio may not be what he likes. Another ratio they're going to look at is the ratio of customer revenue. How much of the company's customer revenue is coming? How much of the company's total revenues are coming from customers versus how much is coming from the reps, the promoters on auto ship, the promoters making purchases, so on and so forth. And so those are the two things. Those are a couple of the things that most Mr. Regulators are typically going to take a look at. Now, in most cases, Queen, you pull any company, any network marketing, any traditional MLM company, and if Mr. Regulator comes sees in the first 6 months, first year, maybe even the first 2 or 3 years, Mr. Regulator is not going to like that ratio. There's either not going to be enough customers that he wants to see for every rep in the business, or there won't be as much customer revenue as he wants to see for the promoter revenue. You know, when someone buys a package, promoter revenue. When a rep who's active in the business, who's earning income in the business, is on auto ship, promoter revenue, rep revenue. Okay. Most companies.
Can I interrupt you here? Can I just say something? I mean, because I just want to make sure everybody really understand that what I heard you say is this: that as a revenue sharing company, we're under more scrutiny.
Exactly.
We're under closer scrutiny.
Exactly.
Under closer scrutiny.
Exactly.
And if we were a regular network marketing company, we would have 2 or 3 years to build our customer base. But because we're not a regular network marketing company, we are a revenue sharing company, we don't necessarily have that kind of time frame to deal with. So we need to make sure that we're doing it right now.
Exactly. That's there you go. Exactly. And everything I've just told you are not on the revenue side, but just in terms of the traditional MLM side, were things that our attorney was Jeffrey Babner, when we were part owners of a network marketing company from 2006 to late 2008. Those are the things that he told us, all right? You know, Mr. Regulator is not going to come and knock on your door right now. Nobody knows who you are. You know, he normally doesn't even come until you've got X, Y, Z, and I don't remember the amount that he threw out in terms of sales. It might have been 30, 40, 50 million in sales. I don't know what the number was. I don't remember. And so one of the things that he said was, he being Jeffrey Babner, it's got nothing to do with JubiRev, JubiMax. I'm just giving you some of my insight from where I've, my perspective, is he says, what I found out from him is, in this network marketing MLM world, and even the version of it that we've seen in revenue sharing, there are a lot of things that aren't necessarily just black and white. There's a lot of areas that are up for interpretation. A lot of areas that could still be subjective, depending on what regulator you may be dealing with, so on and so forth. Okay, so there's a lot of areas that's not necessarily black and white, kind of in that gray space. Okay, now this is what he told us, Jeffrey Babin, 2006, between 2006 and 2008, with the network marketing company that didn't quite, really make their splash. But what he told us was, in designing your compensation plan and in building your business, we had a company that had a tremendous nutritional product, okay, tremendous nutritional product. He said, you can err on being extremely cautious. He says, I can't tell you you won't ever have a regulatory inquiry. I can't tell you that won't cause at some time us to have to, defend certain things. He says, but I can tell you where you have elements of exposure, and if you are less exposed by doing A, B, and C, or if you're more exposed by doing A, B, and C. And so he gave us a couple of ideas. You could be extremely, extremely, extremely conservative where your exposure is extremely, extremely low, but when you have extremely, extremely, extremely low exposure, then sometimes that means that the rep force feels handcuffed. They can't really go out and promote. Compensation is plain vanilla, not very exciting, so on and so forth. You can't show in a presentation, you can't show but so much money on the chart, so on and so forth. And he says sometimes being that conservative never allows your business to grow. He says, now, then there are times when, I'll say to you, well, you've got a little bit more heightened exposure, but I can defend that. I can feel good defending that. And if Mr. Regulator comes in and your exposure's been a little bit more heightened, all right, he says normally what happens is they'll send me a letter, or they'll send a letter and they'll say, hey, these are the things that we want to come and check out, and then I'll send them a letter back, and so on and so forth. In most cases, it's not a big issue if you're not overly exposed. And then he says, now you can be extremely aggressive and have more and more exposure, and the only challenge with that is if you have a lot more exposure, he may come see you sooner rather than later, as well as it may be harder to defend certain things. All right, so we chose to kind of go with, let's say, if it was let's make a deal. What's behind curtain number 1, curtain number 2, curtain number 3? We kind of went with curtain number 2. Let's make sure that we're not overly exposed, but let's also make sure that we can have a compensation plan and we can have marketing material and things of that nature that get us up and running. Okay, so now, here we go. So Jay Joshua hears from the consultant. More scrutiny, more magnified scrutiny. As a matter of fact, the consultant said to me, and I'm sure he also said this to Jay Joshua, the consultant said to me that, and I don't know if it was the AG or the SEC or if it was both, that they remarked that they follow some of the MLM blogs. Now, there's one blogger out there. He doesn't quite like me. I love him, but I don't like the way he does business. How about that, Queen? Okay. His name was not mentioned, but there's another guy, bald head guy, that I actually like. Don't quite like how he's reported a few things here of late. I've let that be made known, and I haven't just done it on the webinar, Queen. I've reached out to him. Unfortunately, he hasn't taken my phone call, but I've texted him. I know the guy. I've known him for years, so on and so forth. His name was mentioned. His name starts with a T, all right, last initial D. His name was mentioned, and what was essentially said to me was that regulators follow some blogs because that's how they know kind of what's happening out there. Now, let's go back here. We got to get this, okay? So now, Queen, we now know that this entire industry, that any company that has this model is under more intense scrutiny, which may mean that Mr. Regulator may come sooner rather than later, okay? We know he's going to come at some point. That's not the issue. We just want to be ready when it comes. We want to pass the test when it comes, number one. Number two, we know that Mr. Regulator, or maybe some of the regulators, look at the blogs posts that are out there. And so when GoFund Places went away, TD does a blog post. I called him on it. He hadn't responded back to me really, but he did a blog post, and in the blog post he talked about go from places to gone da da da, and he mentions who? Jubi Rev, Jubi Max.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to, so let's piece some things together here. Consultant says this industry is under more scrutiny, one. Consultant says regulators look at blogs, especially, and this guy's name was mentioned, okay, from what I'm told. Number two, that dude does a blog post talking about the company that just left the U.S. folks and basically stole their money, in my opinion. But he mentioned in that blog post Jubi Rev, Jubi Max. Now, Queen.
Yes.
Would Jay Joshua be honoring his fiduciary responsibility as president and owner of the company to make sure that he's protecting this goose that lays the golden egg? Would he be doing his responsibility if he sat back and did nothing?
No, he would not, Q.
No,
and neither would any of the leaders that are working with him.
No, not at all. Okay, so let me tell you what he did. I believe May 1 was when that other company went away. That next week is when I'm told, the 7th or the 8th, somewhere in there, is when I'm told the consultant met with an AG, and I'm told he met with him face to face, not just on the phone call. And that same week he met with someone that was in the SEC. By the end of that week, let's say by Friday the 10th, Jay Joshua went out and hired more attorneys. We already had Nera and Walk. He went out and hired, I know he hired Kevin Grimes, one of the top in the industry. I know he hired Thayer Lindor, one of the top in the industry. There's a few others he hired, and I think I heard him say last night, so I may have been wrong when I'd said this before, that he's hired a total of 6 of the top MLM attorneys in our industry. There's a small fraternity of these fraternities, attorneys. There's more attorneys in the MLM space, but there's a core group. Maybe let's call it 8, 10 that are some of the top that most companies tend to go to. Okay. All right. So he wanted them to take a look at our compensation plan, wanted to tear it apart, and let us know: are we in the sweet spot? Are we overly exposed? Do we need to make any modifications? So on and so forth, okay? That's his fiduciary responsibility. Now, here's the challenge, ladies and gentlemen, is that, now, let me say this. I have not spoken to any of these attorneys, okay? I've not spoken to any of these attorneys, all right? So let me say that, number one. Number two, I'm going to make the assumption that these attorneys, because they represent different firms, weren't on a conference call all at once, okay? I know he's going back and forth with Grimes here. He's going back and forth with Thayer here. He's going back and forth with Walk here, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, here is a challenge. In many cases, there wasn't a consensus. Remember, I told you, Queen. In many cases, you don't find black and white.
No, you don't. You find gray areas.
Yeah, you find gray, or you'll find areas where they say, well, I can defend that if, or I don't know that I can defend that, so on and so forth. Let's talk about 3 areas that were brought up, okay? All right, number one, how, by the way, let me say this. From my conversations, which has now been extensive with J. Joshua Beisel, none of the attorneys are saying, hey, you can't do revenue sharing. Because by any network marketing company's nature, they are revenue sharing. They don't call it necessarily revenue sharing. They call it a unilevel. So what happens? You sell a product. You're the one that sold the product. You get a commission. What did the company just do? It shared a portion of the revenue. Okay? Revenue sharing has kind of become synonymous with this concept that Joe and Susie Average can earn perhaps on a daily basis, and also become synonymous with, hey, even if you're not great at recruiting or great at selling, you can still make money. Okay, so that's kind of where this revenue sharing concept has come from. But in reality, every single MLM company, every affiliate system out there, that pays you a commission if you get a sale is sharing revenue. They generated revenue, they paid revenue out. A car sales place, that's revenue sharing. You're a car salesman, you sell a car, the company brought in revenue, they share part of that revenue in the form of a commission. I think we understand that now. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so there's nothing inherently wrong with revenue sharing. However, you've got to look at what needs to be done by the promoter in order to earn daily rewards or monthly rewards or weekly rewards or share the revenue. And here's one of the things that is not a consensus. When are points awarded? All right, so you've got multiple attorneys. I'm going to say 4, but now we heard from last night it was 6. Let's say 4 for the purposes of our discussion. So let's say, Queen, you've got. I know there were at least 2 of the attorneys that said to lower your exposure, points should only be awarded if the Jubi bucks have been used. To lower your exposure, points should only be awarded if the Jubi bucks are used. Now, is that slightly different from when we first got started? Yes. But why is that now different? Well, now we had multiple sets of eyes, and someone said, well, why didn't they get all of these attorneys before they got started? Well, there's not many companies that I'm aware of that go out and get 5 or 6 attorney firms before they get started. They normally go because narrow and walk are considered cream of the crop. You go to narrow and walk. You say, hey, this is what we like. You go to a consultant. He writes out your compensation plan. You put it before the attorneys. The attorneys say, no, you need to do this, do that, and do this. And when they say, hey, I can defend that, I'm fine with that, you go and you start to build your business. You don't go necessarily and go and get 4 or 5 or 6 attorneys. Now, why did J. Joshua do it? Because he wants to protect this goose that lays a golden egg. He understands from the consultant, having talked with the SEC, having talked with someone in the with an attorney general, there's heightened scrutiny. He knows there's been a video that had been posted after Go Fun Places goes away in which Jubi Rev, Jubi Max's name was mentioned, and the fact that that gentleman who has that blog was mentioned by either someone from the SEC or someone from the AG as a blog that they do look at. So with all of this, he goes out, he gets multiple attorneys because he wants to find a consensus. And here's the challenge. You got a couple of attorneys that said points should only be awarded if the Jubi bucks have been used. The Queen, we've been getting points if a person simply registered and claimed the Jubi bucks. Now all of a sudden there were a couple of attorneys saying, I would change that. I would change that. I would change that. Lower your exposure. I would change that. Now, this is me talking, Queen, again. I never spoke to the attorneys. I'm taking my conversations with J. Joshua and, using some of my wording and so on and so forth. Okay, now, there was one attorney, based on my conversation with J. Joshua, who said he could defend our model for the most part as it is now. Maybe he wanted to see this little modification or that modification, maybe change this requirement, modify this requirement. And he felt like he could vehemently defend our model as is, even our points. And then there was, I think there was another of the attorneys that said, well, I don't want to see you award points when someone simply registers for bucks. But if you do that, if you have a certain amount of those customers that actually convert into paying customers, then I can defend that with more vigor. So right now I'm talking about, all right, 2 of them said don't award points until Jubi bucks have been given. One says, hey, you can go on and award those points. I can defend that. And then another one says, well, I can defend it if ABC happens. So many customers, percentage-wise, customers have to come from that. Real paying customers, not just paying for shipping and handling, but actually buying something thereafter. Okay. All right. So now, Queen, if you're dealing with 4 attorneys and one says, I can vehemently defend that, the other 3 are either saying you need to change that, or I suggest that you change that. Give me just a moment. Give me just a moment. My long guy's speaking to me. Gotcha. Thank you, buddy. I suggest that you change that. Well, Queen, I'm sorry, my long guy's talking to me. Well, Queen, if you hear that as the president and the owner of the company, and you don't make some modifications, are you doing what's best for the folks in the field?
No, you'll be doing what this other company did that's not here now.
Okay.
Now,
but wait, Queen. There's going to be some people that's not going to understand that. That's going to get upset. There's going to be some people that may say, hey, you are a scammer. There are going to be some people that's going to say, well, hey, that's not what I signed up for.
Those people are not listening for real, because I mean, the whole thing is I haven't heard the revenue share go anywhere. I haven't heard that, you're taking anything away. I've really heard that you're, kind of adding stuff to it, and you're actually kind of giving us a chance to, get it together so that we are in compliance.
Exactly. And last night, what J. Joshua talked about in terms of compliance, what does compliance mean? And I'm gonna go to some of the notes that we took from last night. What he got from the attorneys was this, okay? That the compensation plan that a company has, the spirit of the compensation plan needs to be within the law. Now, yes, JubiRev, JubiMax is not a U.S. company. It's a British Virgin Island company. However, it doesn't matter where your company is registered or even headquartered. The moment you start doing business with U.S. customers or U.S.-based affiliates, you have to comply with U.S.-based laws. Now, what GoFund Places did, Queen, is they said, okay, we're terminating all U.S. affiliates.
We're not going to comply.
Because we don't want to have to worry about complying with U.S. laws, and we'll just do our business in Southeast Asia, or we'll do our business in other countries, so on and so forth. That's the decision they made, okay? Well, J. Joshua said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to cower, even though there may be some people who don't quite understand. There may be some people who, there might be some bloggers who say negative or positive things. There might be some reps who don't like, hey, wait a minute, I thought this was a passive opportunity. You never heard that from corporate. And Queen, J. Joshua has continued to say on almost every webinar I'm on with him, when he talks about JubiBucks and giving them away and virtual sampling, he'll talk about, giving the JubiBucks away in, hey, try the product. Let me give you a 30-day a sample. You come back to me and you tell me what you think of the product and give me a testimonial. Tell me what you honestly think. And if you like the product, consider buying from me month after month after month. That's been his message from day one. The second part is the company enforcing the rules and regulations to ensure promoters are not overpromising? Well, see, the spirit of giving away JubiBucks is not simply to dump them so that we get points. Now, I know this is a change, and I do not fault not one promoter in our system, particularly if they were part of Zeek Rewards or if they were part of GoFund Places, because that built a culture that many of us brought to JubiRev, Jubi Max. In Zeek Rewards, we bought bids. We could care less if people used the bids. We went out, we purchased customers. Many of those customers now we know, we didn't know it necessarily then, never even saw our site. We did it to get points. That's bottom line. We did it to get points. Yes.
Can I ask you a question, though?
Yes.
In order for a company to have revenue to share, wouldn't they have to get revenue?
They've got to get revenue. Here's where we have the challenge with this model, okay? And I'm not saying that it's good or bad. This is just the facts. Is that what the model has done it has attracted a lot of people that have viewed, whether it was Equal Rewards, whether it was Go Fund Places, whether it's JubiRev, JubiMax, as an investment. They view, hey, let me purchase these Jubi bucks or what have you, more as an investment. Okay. We've got to change that culture. We've got to eradicate that culture. Okay. For instance, I'll give you a good example. There was a gentleman not long ago. I don't know how long ago he did this. He's got a blog. On his blog, he promotes a number of different income opportunities. Some of them are systems queen, that you don't have to recruit anybody, you don't have to sponsor anybody, you don't have to get any customers, you really don't have to do anything. You just make a deposit. You put money in, and you earn 1% a day or 2% a day, so on and so forth. Okay, that's not a business. All right, no. That's not a business. All right. So in any event, on his blog, he also is a part of multiple revenue sharing models. Now, he did a video, and it was a very, very well done video. Very well done video. He was very complimentary about JubiRev and Jubi Max and our website and coming on to the webinars. He even mentioned my name in a glowing light, and I appreciate that. But on his blog, he had the JubiRev logo, and then he said something about passive income or guaranteed income, something to that effect. Okay. Well, one of the bloggers, and one of the bloggers that he and I really don't see eye to eye. He don't like me at all. I love him. Don't like the way he does business. Okay. He picked up that blog, and he did a post on that blog, and he made it sound like, see, I told you JubiRev is a passive income because this guy said it. So the challenge is that, and I'm not going to blame that guy, but a lot of people have brought the high yield investment program mentality or this is an investment mentality to JubiRev, JubiMax. Am I going to point fingers at anyone? No, because if you've been in a culture, as we had been for 2 years, Equal Rewards, even Go Fund Places, you did have to get customers, but they never, in the U.S. customers never could whip out their credit card and make any purchases because they never got U.S. merchant accounts or merchant accounts where they could do business with U.S. folks. So in large part, you got folks that, hey, just over the last couple of years, they've kind of been shaped, and so they bring this to JubiRev, JubiMax, and I'm not going to fault anybody for that. I'm just saying, Queen, that we can't continue with that type mentality, or we run the risk of an August 17th happening at some point, or a May 1st happening. And if you were part of August 17th, Equal Rewards, or May 1, Go Fund Places, you know how disempowering that is. I can imagine many tears were shed, many hearts were broken, many hopes were dashed. I know on that August 17th one, Queen, I know there were people that had quit their jobs because they were generating enough revenue at the time to do so. I know people that were in the middle of maybe building a house that had to stop building a house. I know people that had, with the May 1, I know people that, a lady who's 71 had just retired, largely because she was generating additional revenue from that particular company. Okay, so that was one of the the purpose of the Jubi bucks, ladies and gentlemen, is not just to dump them on customers so we can get points, but for them to be used as a way of incentivizing customers to try the product in hopes that if they try the product, like the product, they'll come back and they'll purchase down the road. Okay, give me a moment. All right, so that was one issue, no real consensus when the points are awarded. No real consensus on that. However, what the consensus was is we don't want to see you awarding points simply because someone registered for free and the system gave them Jubi bucks, which they may never use. Okay. Now, here was another issue that was in some attorneys' corners felt like it gave more exposure and said, hey, you need to stop this, you need to change this right now. One other attorney said, no, I can vehemently defend that. But the one who was most passionate that he could vehemently defend our model as is, or as is with maybe some, just a little small little modifications. That particular gentleman, I'm told, is older, and health may not be all that great. And so here was the discussion that I had, okay? Here's the discussion I had, and I hope I'm not violating trust when I say this, because I do have a non-disclosure, Queen. One of the things that I mandated if I was going to come aboard and promote JubiRev, Jubi Max, because I've been a part of Zeke Rewards, I've been a part of Go Fun Places, and Queen, to be honest with you, I'm tired of starting over. My story has been in the industry 19 years. We built 4 7-figure businesses, but the real story is I wish I could have said I was with one company for 19 years. Right. I also understand that anytime you have to restart, that you lose some faith from some of your following.
Yeah.
Queen, with the last venture, Go Fun Places, Go Fun Rewards, I thought it was noble that I came out and I told people, hey, guys, I can't in good faith promote the company anymore. I put my income at serious risk. We were earning
right.
and commissioning out $3,000 a day. And sure enough, a few weeks after I was promoting a plan B, they cut me off. $3,000 a day gone. Okay, I thought
right.
that was noble. I thought that everyone would appreciate that. Maybe not understand it, but would leave it, man, wow, he's looking out for the team. Queen, most people did. But
right.
I had some folks that blasted me. And I'm telling you, Queen, I'm going to come on the webinar, and I'm going to be passionate. I'm going to put on a smile, and I'm going to do my personal development. I'm going to do my affirmations daily. But, Queen, it hurt. It hurt when someone that I knew and had talked with 4 or 5 times a week, that I thought he had my back and I had his back, would talk to me on a conference call, and then someone sent me what he was saying about me in Facebook. That hurt. It hurt when Dennis said, hey, man, my leader told me not to follow you anymore, and I'm so glad that I decided to follow you. And then I found out who his leader was and said, don't follow that guy. I ain't going to say the guy's name, but it hurt, Queen, because the guy would call me up as if we were best buddies. But he was, but then, if you don't like me, just tell me you don't like me. You know what? One thing I can appreciate about Oz, I know he don't like me.
Exactly.
He might be on the webinar right now. He was on my webinar last night. I know he don't like it. At least I know what to expect from the dude. I don't expect him to tell the full truth. I don't, but I'll leave that alone. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Queen, I know that anytime you have to restart, you're going to have an element of your following that's going to say, should I follow that dude now? So when I came to Jubi, one of the conditions of me coming aboard and kind of helping to lead the charge until we developed more leaders and found the leaders that were really, here for Jubi for the long haul, I said, hey, I got to know some things that I wouldn't normally know as a rep. I was made to sign a non-disclosure, okay? And so this is one of the reasons why I have conversations. I'm not in on everything, so I was never in on any conversations with the attorneys or what have you, but then I would have conversations with Jay Joshua. A lot of times, sometimes it'd be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, he and I are on the phone, so on and so forth. All right, now, here's where we know there is a challenge, okay? A couple of the attorneys said you cannot commission on Jubi Bucks. A couple of the attorneys said Jubi Bucks are sales aids, and as such, you can't commission on those. For instance, Queen, you were at XYZ company, you've been with a few companies yourself, and you decide to buy some brochures to promote your business. That was never commissionable. Okay?
No, it wasn't.
a couple of the attorneys said, we see the Jubi Bucks, and we believe that the regulators will see the Jubi Bucks as a sales aid and therefore not commissionable. Now, we've got one attorney who says, I can vehemently defend that. But what's the challenge with that one attorney who says, I can vehemently defend that? He's older, health not in the best condition, and here's one of the conversations Jay Joshua and I had. This is where I said, I hope, I should be okay by saying this. He says, T. Lamont, I don't want to prejudge the guy. He says, but, if we need him 2 or 3 years from now to passionately and vehemently defend this, is he going to be able to?
Right.
All right, so since, while there isn't a unanimous consensus, but since attorneys essentially said the ones that would be, maybe aren't old, maybe have better health, so on and so forth, and like, and I'm not speaking deaf to the other guy or poor health to the other guy, but that's just the reality. But since the ones that are, let's say, more spry today are saying that's going to give you a lot of exposure, and I don't know that I could defend that one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you got to pay attention to that. Now, Queen, I'm going to tell you, I personally don't like that at all.
No,
I don't like that at all. Because, Queen, what have we been doing? We've been telling people to come aboard and buy Jubi Bucks, and then we would get a commission, 10, 5, and 1.
Yeah.
0.5% going through the Jubi Suite. I don't like that at all. But, Queen, if that stays the way it is, it gives us more exposure. And though I don't like that, Queen, I remember what August 17th felt like. I remember when Zeke Rewards died, what that felt like. And boy, I don't ever want to experience that again. Okay? Now, the other thing that we now know, and hear me, all right? Queen, there's some people that are saying, I don't quite know what I'm going to do just yet. There's some modifications. I don't quite like some of the modifications. I'm going to tell you, Queen, that for anything that you see that maybe the company will not commission on going forward, they're going to replace that with some huge bonuses. So we'll talk about some $1,000 bonuses and $10,000 bonuses and $500,000 bonuses. We'll get to that in just a few moments. I'm just about finished with this part here, okay? So we'll get to the exciting part in just a few moments, but I need people to understand. One of my tremendous multimillionaire mentors taught me to understand it as you undertake it, all right? And what we've always endeavored to do is not just give you hype, but give you meat and potatoes so that you have an understanding. Even, Queen, on presentations. I've always told you, Queen, I'm not the 30-minute income opportunity presentation guy. If that's who you're looking for, don't come to mine, because I feel compelled. I'm an educator. I feel compelled that I need to educate you, help you understand it as you undertake it. Here we go. All right. This was the big one. Now, last Thursday, I had the occasion to speak with one of the new compensation plan consultants. Remember, the attorneys don't write the compensation plans, okay? Consultants do. But typically, the attorneys and consultants work hand in hand. So if you go to if you want to start an MLM company and you go to the attorney first, you go to Narrow and Walk first, you go to Kevin Grimes first, you go to Thayer Landau first, and say, hey, write my compensation plan. They're going to say, I don't write compensation plans. And they're typically going to send you to a consultant, maybe 2 or 3 that they tend to work with, okay? Then you're going to work with the consultant to write out the compensation plan. The consultant is typically going to go back and forth between the owner of the company or whoever the company's representative happens to be and the attorney, going back and forth. What is it that you want to achieve? Looking at your margins. What's your margins when someone buys Max Natural? What are your margins on Max Natural? What does it cost the company to produce it? What does the company sell it for? And then from there, Queen, they're able to determine, well, how much commissions need to be paid, how much business volume needs to be associated with that purchase, so on and so forth. All right, so it's a huge undertaking. Okay, so last Thursday, I'm on with the compensation guy. Okay, Up to that point, Queen, I knew that there were discussions happening with the attorneys. I knew that that might mean there might be some modifications. I had no idea what those modifications were or were not going to be. Last Monday, I sent out a video saying I've never been more excited about Jubi than I am right now. Why? Because I've had a conversation that weekend with J. Joshua Beisel, where he had a conversation the weekend, a few days before, with one of the attorneys, and I think it may have been the one who felt like he could vehemently defend our model almost as is, without much modification, so on and so forth. All right, so I took that information over the weekend, and I did the video. Man, I'm so excited, and you guys are going to hear what the company has done to make sure that we are here solid and we can sleep well at night, so on and so forth. Then other attorneys began to weigh in, and so, Queen, last week when I found out other attorneys were weighing in, I wasn't quite sure what all of that was going to mean. So if you came to an income opportunity webinar last week, you saw something you had never seen T. Lamont do before. Do an income opportunity presentation in 30 minutes.
You know what, Lamont? I saw you do it in less than 30, and I was like, ooh, that's
and the reason I did, Queen, is because I knew there were going to be some modifications, didn't know what the modifications were going to be, and I didn't want to over promote, the Jubi Suite and the DOB and how it all works and all that good stuff until I understood what those modifications were going to be. So last Thursday, I'm on a call. It's probably 30 or 40-minute call with one of the consultants, not the attorney. And here's one of the things that he said had to change. Okay? One of the things he said had to change. What we've been used to from Zeke Rewards to Go Fund Places to JubiRev, JubiMax, we've been used to making daily repurchases of and Zeke Rewards repurchases of bids. You would earn your daily reward. You would set your system to say, hey, for my daily reward, I want to repurchase so many bids, percentage-wise, so on and so forth. Now, you have the ability to have it all go to eCash, but most people would purchase more bids to give away so that they can continue to grow their point totals and then account for points that would eventually retire. Same thing happened in Go Fund Places. Same thing happened in JubiMax, JubiRev, JubiMax, okay? Now, here's the thing that he brought out, that when he said it, it hurt me. I had a moment of depression, but it made sense. He says, when Mr. Regulator comes, now, again, I'm going to use my terminology, all right, now here's what he's going to be looking at. One of the main things he's going to be looking at is customer, not just customer to rep ratios. How many customers does the company have versus how many reps, promoters in the business? He's going to be looking at customer revenue versus promoter revenue. How much revenue is generated by outside customers that have nothing to do with the income opportunity versus how much income is generated by promoters. And what he said is, he said this, he said even traditional MLMs now are under more scrutiny. Over the last 6 months, we've had to modify a number of comp plans because they're being regulators are more stringent now. He said now when a company comes to us with more of a traditional compensation plan, there are certain things that we will not sign off on until they have it in that compensation plan because things are more stringent. He was talking about traditional MLMs, not companies that have a revenue sharing model. He said this, he said customer revenue versus promoter revenue needs to be at least 50% of the company's revenues, overall revenues. So if promoters generated $100,000 in revenue for the company, then at least $100,000 needs to be generated by customers that have nothing to do with the income opportunity. Okay, so what's the challenge, T. Lamont? Here's the challenge. The challenge is every night that we are earning, a portion of our earnings goes to do what? Buy more Jubi bucks. That is considered revenue. And so when he said that, this moment of depression comes upon me. You stick with me, Queen, because I'm going to show you what the company's going to do to make sure, Queen, because I promise you, when it's all said and done, we will have the sexiest smoking hot model that people can go to bed at night and sleep really good. Daily revenue sharing is not going away. The character of it will change, but it's not going away. Here we go, Queen. All right, so with Jubi, I'm earning roughly, I've got over 100,000 points. On an average night, I could see something like a $1,500 in my daily reward. Well, Queen, I have not requested one check from Jubi, okay? So if you multiply that out times roughly 30 days, that right there comes up to $45,000 in revenue that the company would show as revenue if Mr. Regulator came, right? But what this means is that needs to be offset by $45,000 in customer purchases that have nothing to do with the income opportunity. And I haven't even thrown in my own personal auto ship. Okay? Tyron has 100,000 or so points. 100, more than that, I know now. So he's probably seeing things like this, give or take, as well. So just from two dudes in Jubi, we would need to have $90,000 as a company in customer revenue to offset the fact that there could be $90,000 in revenue coming from two promoters, assuming that they were earning that kind of money, and then they were getting more Jubi bucks with that. Of course, I assume we got 100% more Jubi bucks with that. Well, Queen, that's when the light went off. That as much as I love the revenue sharing model, as I have come to understand it, my 17 months in Go Fund Places, my few months I was with my 17 months in Zeke, my few months in Go Fund Places, and the time that we've been here in Jubi, that's when it occurred to me, there's got to be a change. Because if there's no change, at some point when Mr. Regulator comes, he may not say, Queen, it's a Ponzi scheme. See, that word has been bantered out about, but he may very well say it's a pyramid. There's a difference. There's a difference. A pyramid, Queen, is essentially when Mr. Regulator comes and he doesn't see that 50% or more of the customer revenue, of the company's revenue is coming from customers. When he sees that the overwhelming majority of the company's revenue is coming from promoters. That's what they're saying about Fortune High Tech. They didn't have a revenue sharing model as we come to know our revenue sharing model. They had more of a traditional MLM, but they're saying that the majority of the company's revenue did not come from people selling the products and services. It came from people joining and purchasing packages, so on and so forth. That's what got YTB, your travel biz. Then YTB, I think, was able to be exonerated, but by the time all the years it took for them to do so, all their leaders had gone and their company was a shell of itself. What the California, I believe it was, Attorney General was saying was that, hey, your underlying product, YTB, your travel biz, is travel. And yes, YTB sold millions upon millions upon millions of dollars of travel, but Queen, now I understand. Someone asked me a question once before, why is it that no travel company, no company in the network marketing MLM industry that's in travel is one of the bigger players? When you show that chart, Queen, that says Avon does $11 billion in business and Amway does $9.2 million in business every year, and Mary Kay does 2.5, and Herbalife does $3 billion. Why don't I see a company in travel? Well, here's why. The margins on travel are so minuscule compared to product-oriented companies. That's why, Queen, most of the companies that you see on that list, the Amways, the Mary Kays, are product-oriented. The margins are much higher on a bottle of juice, because it may only cost $5, $6, $7 for the company to produce a bottle of juice, and with the labeling, what have you, but it retails for $30, as an example. Whereas you could sell a hotel room for $100 through a travel portal that YTB had, your travel biz had, but I don't know what the numbers are, but maybe only a couple, $3, $4 came back to YTB as actual revenue. And so when he said that, that's when things got clear. Now, I will be honest with you. I wish that the Troy Dooleys of the world, the Kevin Thompsons of the world had, and maybe they did and maybe I missed the post, had taken the time to, especially let's say Kevin Thompson, and maybe he did and I didn't see it, to explain those types of things as opposed to indicting reps that were simply trying to make money and trying to help people do the same. But when he said that, I thought, oh my gosh, that means revenue sharing as we know it. Revenue sharing doesn't go away, but revenue sharing as we know it, with being able to repurchase and so on and so forth. Queen, we need to go and have a memorial service for that one. And do I want to say that? No. Do I like saying that? No. Are people going to be mad because I'm saying that? Yes. But Queen, I got to tell you the truth. I heard it with my own ears. I heard it with my own ears. Now, so, Queen, now I'm really in a deep depression. Because I'm hearing, wait a minute. So we're not going to be able to commission out Jubi Bucks. And then people aren't going to be able to make repurchases on a nightly basis the way we've been doing it. You can buy Jubi Bucks, but that's not going to be a commissionable event. So, Queen, we got to change how we view things. And yes, there are some people right now that are still trying to wrap their heads around this. And am I going to stay with Jubi and let's go build with the understanding going forward? Am I going to go? Oh, wait a minute. There's AdWallet over here. They've got a revenue sharing model, and I am telling you that because they do business with folks in the U.S., even though they're based out of Ecuador, even though Profits Rewards, whatever the name of that company is, based out of another country, France or wherever, or Spain or what have you, even though they're not based in the U.S., the moment a company has U.S. customers or U.S. affiliates, they're going to have to abide by that rule. And if they're just allowing repurchases again and again and again and again and again, how do you ever come up with the customer revenue to meet that 50% rule? Queen, I tell the story on our Wednesday night, Every Day Can Be Payday webinars that we would, typically would have at 9:30. I would tell the story of my guy named Brian, who was with me in Zeke Rewards, who built up 1.4 million points, was earning in the neighborhood of $20,000 a night, who would put about 20% of his revenue in his pocket, and 80% would go to repurchase. That was about $16,000 on average a night. Multiply that out, maybe times 30 nights. Again, that'd be some days it would be more, some less. Queen, that's $480,000 that Zeke would have needed to show in customer revenue just to offset that one dude. And so, my friends that are in Zeke, I got an email yesterday, Queen, saying, hey, there's going to be a hearing. Zeke may ride again, may live again, because there's going to be a hearing, and the SEC had no jurisdiction to shut it down. You know what? Maybe the SEC didn't have any jurisdiction to shut it down, but I'm going to tell you, based on what I heard on Thursday, if an attorney general came in and saw the revenues, and I don't know what the revenues were, but I've got to think that it was overwhelmingly slated towards promoter revenue and not customer revenue, Queen, maybe the SEC wouldn't have gotten them, but some attorney general probably would have. Now, it may not have just crumbled and just stopped all at once. It may have gone the way that YTB did. YTB fought, man. Coach Lloyd Tomer said, man, I'm fighting. And I'm told, I don't know the whole story, I'm told that, there was some type of exoneration or what have you, I don't know. But by the time all that happened, all the leaders were gone, and the company was a shell of itself. Okay, so here, with what I've just shared with you, Queen, here's what Jay Joshua knows a lot more than what I have shared with you because I don't know everything, okay? I'm sharing with you what I now understand.
Yeah.
And obviously, Queen, I've shared more with you now, and I think I've done it in a better format than I did yesterday when I had a private webinar with a few folks. Because I've also had some additional conversations with Jay Joshua to better understand more of this. Okay, so here we go. We've got a couple of options that as a company. One, we can stay our course. Know that we have heightened exposure. Know there is magnified exposure. Know that Mr. Regulator could come sooner rather than later because of this entire revenue sharing model and other companies that have had the model that didn't even try to do it right. And I won't mention any names, but Queen, if all you're doing is viewing ads and there's not even any discussion about customers, I don't think you're even trying to do it right. Okay? So we can continue the course and almost assuredly have an August 17th situation. May not run as long as that company did because it wasn't as much scrutiny when that company first got started. And then we're all mad. Why didn't Jay Joshua dot those I's and cross those T's? Or we can do what leaders do, lead. And say, okay, we're going to make some modifications right now. Some people are not going to like some of these modifications. Some people are going to be uncomfortable. Other folks who are really here for a business that's going to be here when they wake up in the morning, they'll be here. And the ones that didn't share the vision aren't to be with us. We bid them no ill will. We bid them nothing but love and peace and great success. And I hope you find what you're looking for wherever it is that you're looking. If you still want to come to some of our webinars and be, challenged and engaged and what you feel free, okay? But Queen, this is what Jay Joshua said to me, and I believed it with every fiber of my being. He said, T. Lamont, I love you, man. This has been a joy to work with you. He said, it's been an absolute joy. He says, but if you feel like you have to leave and do something else for you and your family, and if everybody else left, if it was just me, he says, T. Lamont, Jubi is going to be here. Oh. Queen, when I heard that conviction, I said, okay, all right, I got me a leader here. And see, Queen, a lot of times you don't really understand somebody's character or integrity until they're under fire, until they're under pressure. You got to believe, Queen, this has not been fun for that man.
No, it hasn't.
Because I know it ain't been fun for me, and I didn't know everything that was going on, Queen.
Right, me either.
When I had that conversation on Thursday, Queen, late Thursday, this weekend, I knew that there was going to be a webinar. Man, I don't want But then I had a conversation 6 hours on Monday. Saturday and Sunday were really tough for me, Queen. Very, very, very tough. But then I had a 6-hour conversation. Here we go. My gosh, I feel my help coming. Monday, I had a conversation where Jay Joshua said, okay, Jubi Bucks, we got to stop that exposure. Commissioning on Jubi Bucks, we got to stop that exposure. Okay, all right. Okay, Jay Joshua, I got you, man. I got you. The daily repurchases, he says, we got a lot of things coming in programming, but one of the things that's going to happen is a daily leadership bonus is going to still be paying. It's going to pay straight to eCash. Now, I think he said it may still take a couple weeks before it happens this way, but it's not going to be a 60-40 or anything like that. It's going to all go to eCash. Okay, Jay Joshua, I got you, man. I got you, man. Man, I'm going to have to go to my all right. I said, Jay Joshua, look, man.
I know.
If I can't commission on Jubi Bucks, if people aren't going to be repurchasing day after day after day like they are doing right now, man, come on, man. He said, T. Lamont, we're going to have the sexiest, the most smoky compensation plan. We're going to wind up paying out probably more or having one of the highest percentage payouts to the field than any company out there. Okay, all right. Okay, so what are we going to do? First, the unilevel, powered by the Jubi suite.
Yes.
That doesn't go anywhere. And I was like, thank goodness, because we've been training on that for the last 2 weeks. All right, thank goodness. He said, and we're going to do something very special. He says on the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th level, we're going to pay matching bonuses. Now, he gave me a number. I think I gave that number yesterday. I don't want to give that number today because when he talked about it last night, he didn't give a number. So I don't know if that number is a solid number, if it's in with the consultants as they look at all the margins and so on and so forth. But now let me tell you what this means. All right, so now, Queen, what's going to happen is anyone that is on your 5th level in the unilevel, and remember how we've been talking about the Jubi suite. I told you, Queen, I'm only building through 3 legs. And now I promise you I'm only building through 3 legs, okay, because of this. All right, and so if I enroll somebody else, then I'm placing them with, somewhere on my 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th level. Well, Queen, anybody on my 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th level, you are going to get, if they're on your 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th level, you're going to get a matching bonus. Right. So if they make $100 a month in residual income, you're going to match a certain percentage of that. Let's say 5%. I heard a higher number, don't know what the number is going to be, okay? But imagine, Queen, that means that you could have hundreds,
5%.
even thousands of folks on your 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th level. So we could even have Joe and Susie average that aren't great recruiters, but someone placed someone in their organization, and eventually they've got people on the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th level. Queen, Tyron is on somebody's 5th level, on somebody's 6th level, on someone's 7th level, on somebody's 8th level. He builds his unilevel organization, all right? It could be thousands of people in his unilevel organization. Let's say he's making $10,000 a month. There's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8. There's going to be 4 people above him that's going to be matching a portion of his monthly residual income. T. Lamont is on somebody's 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th level. I ain't going nowhere, Queen. Did I have my moment of depression? Yes. Did I start thinking, oh, my God, so don't tell me I got to go start over again. So what would I do? Yes. But then, especially after my conversation on Monday to my 6 hours, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. Nobody's going to have this type compensation model. Okay? All right, so I want you to get that part first. Then he said, we're going to have some smoking hot rank advancement bonuses. Okay, all right. I remember I was with the company, and I remember when I advanced to a certain rank, I got me a bonus, and that was pretty cool. And then he said we're going to have a 25 or it could be a $30,000 rank advancement. I said, well, huh? He said there'll be a 100,000 rank advancement. He said there may be a $500,000. He says I really want to have $1 million rank advancement, and maybe $500,000, maybe $750,000. He said, but I really am pushing the consultant to find the margins so that I can have $1 million rank advancement. Because this is what I said to Jay Joshua on Monday. I said, Jay Joshua, look, man, Queen Twitter, Dave Kaninsky, Tyron. Tyron's one of the biggest leaders in the company. Tyron's got over 100,000 points. I personally enrolled Tyron. Jay Joshua, how do I keep this guy? How do I help him keep his team? He says, well, do you think Tyron would like it if he could go for $30,000, $100,000, $1 million rank advancement? Because see, I'm saying, wait a minute, Tyron's got a large team. He's earning commissions as his teammates purchase Jubi bucks again and again and again, and that's not going to happen anymore. So, You know, so why wouldn't he? And he's not in the U.S., by the way. So he might say, phooey on the U.S. I'm going over to AdWallet because I'm not in the U.S. Well, I'm telling you, Tyron, you can go to AdWallet. You can go to any of the other companies that have a revenue sharing model. If they have one U.S. customer, if they have one U.S. affiliate, and if they want to continue to do business, they're going to have to comply, or you're overly exposed.
Yeah.
And on August 17th could be May 29th. Okay. All right. So he said, do you think Tyron? Do you think Coach Van? Do you think Bev Brossi? Do you think that if they saw $1 million bonus, that would excite them? Oh man, yeah. Yeah. Now,
yeah.
I don't know all the details. Okay, I don't know all the details and requirements, what have you, but we know that's coming. All right. Now, obviously, you're not going to get $1 million bonus tomorrow. Okay, that's going to take some volume through your organization to get $1 million bonus. He said. So then I said, okay, no, okay, here, J. Joshua, help me out, man. I got my buddy Jeff White. I love me some Jeff, Sheila, and Jayla White down there in Mississippi. And this guy, man, he is dynamic. He's a great presenter. He's going to. I want him to start doing some of the company webinars and doing some team webinars with me. But this guy's full time, and he's got a team of folks. And if he can't be commissioned on JubiBucks, as a person comes and purchases JubiBucks, and he can't be commissioned on JubiBuck purchases again and again and again, night after night after night. You know, I know this guy loves me, man. I talk to him all the time. But he's got to take care of his family. And he may say, T. Lamont, I love you, man. I see you're just going to stay over there in Jubi, and go do it, man. I'm happy for you, but I got to go over here and do Empower Network. I got to go over here and do something else. I said, so the $1 million, but that's fine, but it's going to take some time for anyone to get to that $1 million bonus. What about now? He said, this is what you're going to love. He mentioned the name of a company to me that I was very, very familiar with. As a matter of fact, actually, I had mentioned the name of this company to him earlier because I knew this company had some tremendous bonuses in their system. And the whole idea was if you can empower leaders to be able to generate right now money, that they could develop a full-time income very early on, they stay with you. And then they start to build their longer-term residual income through the unilevel powered by the Jubi Suite. And then, Queen, don't let me forget to come back to, and I only have a few moments, I got to get to my son's graduation, about the daily leadership bonus, because that hasn't gone anywhere. Okay? That hasn't gone anywhere. All right? All right, so this is what he said. He said, T. Lamont, you remember that company? Yeah. Remember, I talked to you about that about a week or two ago, about that company. You know, if there had to be some modifications, it'd be great. You know, if we had, some nice bonuses, what have you. He said, well, remember, with that company, they had a model where you could earn $1,000 bonuses again and again and again. Won't give all the details. Got to get to my son's graduation. Here's the deal, Tyron. 6 sales. So what's going to happen is instead of a person coming aboard and buying $2,500 in JubiBucks, they're going to come aboard. I don't know what the smallest package is going to be. There's going to be a middle package of about $500. And Queen, instead of that being 500 JubiBucks, that's going to be $500 worth of products. Now that's going to be for our U.S. and Canada folks. For our international folks, you're going to have what J. Joshua calls a trifecta. I can tell you there's something called Jubi Mindset that will be coming. I saw one of the videos from Jubi Mindset, and Queen, it was phenomenal. And as a matter of fact, my family and I have been practicing some of the things that I saw in that video ever since I saw that video. That's how impactful it was. And one of the things that I have found is that most people in this home business industry that have had any level of success are people that have invested in personal development, that they've begun to reprogram their subconscious, because as one of my dear buddies says, that all of the decisions we don't make consciously, we make subconsciously. This explains why you could have an athlete that makes millions of dollars that seems to continue to sabotage himself, drunk driving here, domestic violence there, because maybe as a kid he was programmed that you ain't going to be nothing. You're not worth anything. And so even though he's got all this heaven-given talent, he squanders it because he goes back to what the subconscious programming is, which is you don't deserve to have this anyway. So even though you have millions, I'm going to do something as a subconscious that causes you to go back to what the programming is for you. Powerful, powerful, powerful Jubi mindset. It's going to be powerful, ladies and gentlemen. Jubi Vacations. Don't have time to tell you why there's been a delay in Jubi Vacations, but at some point I'll tell you why there was a delay. It's not the company's fault. I know you don't want to hear that. You want Jubi Vacations, but there's a reason. Don't have time to talk about it. All right, so international folks will have digitally based products so that we don't have to be concerned about shipping issues, shipping being prohibitive cost-wise. U.S. and Canada, our focus is going to be on consumable-based products. One reason is Mr. Regulator tends to be easier on companies that move consumable products than he does digital products. If your travel biz queen, that had a phenomenal compensation plan, by the way, if they had had consumable-based products and not just a travel engine, they may still be in business today, because they actually sold millions of dollars of services. They just had very thin margins. And because they didn't have products going out, regulators tend to be more suspect to companies that don't have products going out in the U.S. than those that have products going out. Okay, they tend to look at those as potential money gains quicker than they do companies that have products that are going out to people on a monthly basis. All right, so Queen, you're going to have the ability. So Tyron, Queen, Isaac, Mary, John, Susan, every time there are 6 sales in a part of their team of these $499, $500 packages, they're going to make a $1,000 bonus. Well, Queen, now Jeff, my buddy Brian can say, okay, I need about $1,000 a week. Okay, let's get 6 sales. It doesn't have to be 6 that he does himself. It could be helping teammates. Maybe he's doing some 3-ways. Maybe he's doing some Skype chats. Maybe he's doing his own private webinars, so on and so forth. Queen, this is the same activity he was doing anyway when he was building Zeke Rewards. Because I'm going to tell you, someone who says this is a passive income opportunity, that's fun. That was funny to me. I was working my butt off. So now he gets 6 sales, he gets $1,000. Bev gets 6 sales, she gets $1,000. So maybe she gets 6 sales this week, maybe it's 6 sales, and that part of our organization, maybe it takes 2 weeks, maybe it takes 3 weeks, $1,000. Well, what happens if she gets another 6 sales, another 1,000, another 6 sales, another 1,000, another 6 sales, another 1,000? And again, this isn't Bev doing all of this herself. This is Bev doing what she's been doing anyway. She's been providing support. She's been helping her team grow anyway. That's why she's got the points she has. That's why she has the team that she has. So she's not doing anything different than what she's been doing before. And here's the difference, Queen. See, Tyron and Bev and Troy Rudd, they've been earning daily, right? But in most cases, they've not been seeing a lot go to eCash because they've been building up, so they can build up points, build up points, build up points. And so one of my buddies in Vegas in Zeke Rewards had over 1 million points and never had a commission check. That's not going to happen with this. When he gets his $1,000 check, go spend it. Now, where do Jubi Bucks come in? We'll still be able to buy some Jubi Bucks, Queen. We'll still buy some Jubi Bucks. We're not going to buy 2,500 at a time, and we'll treat Jubi Bucks, Queen, like we would brochures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy, now I still have quite a few Jubi Bucks, but let's say I buy 100 Jubi Bucks. Then I find a customer that I can give the 100 Jubi Bucks to, as opposed to me buying 2,500 up front. I buy 100 Jubi Bucks. I give those Jubi Bucks away to help incentivize a customer to use products and services. I still get points when that happens. And those points are now in the daily leadership bonus. Okay? So that doesn't go away. That doesn't go away. What we remove is any appearance that people are reinvesting. There's no reinvestment. I purchased Jubi Bucks for what a couple of the attorneys said they were, sales aids. We encourage teammates to purchase Jubi Bucks for sales aids, but we didn't get any commissions for it. Therefore, how does Mr. Regulator come in and say, oh, that's a money game? No, that's not a money game. Purchase Jubi Bucks just like we would brochures, so on and so forth. Now, Queen, I got to go. Got to get to my son's graduation. $1,000. Cumulatively, once your team has 100 of these sales, you get a $10,000 bonus. Now, wait a minute. Let's do some math here. In order to get 100 sales, if every 6 sales generated a $1,000 bonus, if I divide 100 by 6, that means in order to get your $10,000 bonus, Queen, you had to have earned 16 of the $1,000 bonuses. So now I look at my buddy Tyron and I say, Tyron, man, you personally enrolled, what, 500 people? Now, I know not all of them upgraded, but you personally enrolled quite a few. I'm not even talking about you personally enrolling. Tyron, can you in a month, you and a portion of your team generate 100 sales? Tyron says, yeah, okay, at least I'm going to try. And let's say he hits it. Maybe it took a month, maybe it took 2 months, whatever. Let's say he hits it in a month. Queen, you know what we know he made? $26,000 in bonuses. That didn't go in repurchasing more Jubi Bucks so he could grow his point total necessarily. No, he made $26,000. He put $25,500 in his pocket, and maybe he took $500 to buy some more Jubi Bucks to give away to incentivize customers. Are you getting that, Queen?
Yes.
So Queen, there's a company that had a sort of that type model. There's nothing new under the sun. And because of that, and let me give you this story, Queen, and I'm going to have to go. If I can't get to I won't be able to get to your questions, ladies and gentlemen. I've got to go to my son's graduation. All right, let me give you this quick story, okay? This is a true story. All right, 1994 to 1999, I'm in network marketing. I don't have any major success. I've seen some checks, but I haven't had any major success. I get burned out. I started trading in the stock market. I met a guy in 1998 who started teaching me how to trade in the stock market. By 1999, I said, man, I'm not doing this network marketing thing anymore. I started trading in the stock market. Got pretty good. I even went around the country selling $5,000 stock market workshops, and ultimately I started teaching workshops in my local area. At that time, I was living in Greensboro, North Carolina. I started teaching stock market workshops in that local area and had a lot of clients that were coming to my stock market workshops. I was out of network marketing, okay? By the time I decided to get back into network marketing, primarily because there was the market crash of 2000, and that started to impact my stock market business. But now, Queen, I had a little influence that I didn't have from 1994 to 1998, 1999. Nobody knew me. I hadn't had any major success. People weren't listening to me necessarily. But now that I had a pretty good thriving stock market enterprise, and I remember going to my church when we were one of the largest churches in the area, and my pastor got up and said, "Have you guys been to T. Lamont's stock market workshop? You guys need to see T. Lamont." Well, Queen, that gave me instant credibility. And so I got back into network marketing as a way to supplement the fact that I was not getting as much money doing my stock market workshop. So I finally started to have a little success because people were joining me. And I was with a company called ITI, Stuart and Steve Fingers, now called GBG. Some of you know of that company. And we did really well in a few short period of time. But there were 3 owners of the company. One of the owners left. I didn't know what was going on. I was trying to find out why one of the owners left. And he had a conference call, Queen, and my voice was heard on the conference call asking him questions. Someone took that recording to Steve and Stuart Finger, the 2 brothers that were the other owners of the company, and without any conversation, they cut me off, Queen. My check stopped immediately. So for the first time in network marketing, I had started to have some success, and I had gotten jilted. I had been wronged. So, Queen, then I joined a company a few months later that that had a travel component, and it sounded very, very exciting. And we got started with that company, and that company was newer, and they had some customer service issues initially, and then I don't understand why. Then they had some modifications. They did some changes. They changed some things with the compensation plan. The Queen, I had just come off a situation where I had been jilted. And so instead of me sticking around to see and really understand what the company was doing and why the company was doing it, I basically said, excuse my vernacular, my mama may get me, screw this, forget this. I'm going to somewhere else. So I left that company. I went to another company called Financial Destination, and I met some phenomenal people there. Boomy Moore was my enroller, Zeke and Jerry Stewart, just phenomenal, that have forever changed my life. 2.5 years after I left that travel company, I'm with Financial Destination, and my buddy who had been with the travel company and had stayed the course through the modifications and changes that that company had, and I still don't understand why they made some of the modifications and changes they had, gives me a call. T. Lamont, Coach Tomer wants you back, man. I want you back. Man, we make a powerful team. We got a spot for you, man. We got a spot. We're ready for you. We're ready for you. We got this thing all figured out. You know, we had some little challenges. We had to make some modifications. You know, but this thing, man, this thing is rocking and rolling now. And I said, Uncle Ron, I called him Ron Head. I called him Uncle Ron. I said, Uncle Ron, I love you, man. But, man, I'm making some money, Uncle Ron. I'm making some money. I'm making about 20 G's a month, Uncle Ron. You couldn't tell me nothing, Queen, because that was the first company I had been with, Financial Destination, where I made a really big splash. I'm making 20 grand a month, Uncle Ron. My head was all lifted up. My chest was puffed out. I was feeling good about myself, Queen. And Uncle Ron said, well, that's good. I said, by the way, what kind of money are you making over there? They said, about $250,000 a month. What? You doing what? He said, man, I'm going to tell you. He said, there's a shooting lodge that I take my boys to. I take my sons to. His sons are now grown. And when I used to take them as a kid, they used to always say, Daddy, you need to buy this. You need to buy this. He said, I just bought it. He said, I just paid off all my debt. I bought houses for my children. And I thought, now, I was thankful for my 20 grand a month. But I thought, I was there with you. And I left.
Mm-hmm.
I was there with you, and I left. By the way, that company is the one that inspired this bonus model that we're talking about. Now, that company did run into problems themselves because they were more in travel, very small margins. Had they had consumable products, that company would still be flying high today, I believe. So, Queen, what Jay Joshua did, got to close with this. He says the daily leadership bonus doesn't go anywhere. We're still going to pay daily. Now, because we can't commission on JubiBucks, because Tyron's not going to be able to earn daily on JubiBucks purchased by his team, we've got to find a way to not only keep our leaders so they're making money, but to attract new leaders that want to make some money and know that they can make money right now while they're building their residual income.
Right.
And he said, so we're going to have to modify the character of the daily leadership bonus. Right now we put 50% of the daily revenue into the daily leadership bonus, or up to 50% into the daily leadership bonus. But if we're going to offer $1 million bonus, if we're going to offer a $30,000 bonus, if we're going to offer a $1,000 bonus again and again and again, a $1,000 bonus again and again and again, and then $10,000 bonuses, that's got to come from somewhere. And so, and by making that modification, then we should then rid ourselves of the culture of people that look at this as a passive income opportunity. My question, can the new guy, can the average guy still earn daily? Yes, that doesn't go away. Yeah, but he's not going to buy 2,500. No, he's not going to probably buy 2,500 in bids right away. And that's, I'm sorry, bids, in Jubi Bucks. And that's going to be good because he's not coming in looking at it as an investment. He's buying Jubi Bucks, using it as a sales aid to get more customers. And when he gets those customers or when they use those Jubi Bucks, he's going to earn points. And he says there are going to be other ways. I don't know these ways just yet. He says there's going to be other ways that we're going to incentivize that the person who's not good at recruiting and sponsoring, where they can earn points that don't require them to have to purchase more Jubi Bucks. And what he's telling me, Jay Joshua, is based on the plan that he's put with the consultants, that they put in front of the attorneys, that the attorneys say, now, I like that. Now, there might be still some things they want to see done. I know, for instance, Queen, that right now, if you have 25,000 points or more, you're responsible for $260 in qualifying volume. 60 of that needs to come from outside customer sales. That figure of outside customer sales will probably go up. Why? Because if I could be on auto ship for 200 myself and only have $60 in outside customer sales, that's not a 50-50 ratio. So I wouldn't be surprised if I have to have 200 in qualifying sales, maybe 100 comes from outside sales, maybe 100 I could be on auto ship, so on and so forth. But Queen, there's a simple way to take care of that. I won't cover that on this webinar, but you just think that through. Simple way to cover that. Simple way. Simple way. Okay? But I won't say that on this webinar. We'll make sure that people understand. So that might be changed. So this is what I need us to do. I need us to be smart, bright, mature business people. Understand this revenue sharing model is undergoing an evolution. Everything that Jay Joshua has done is so that we don't have a repeat of August 17th or May 1st. Will everyone understand it thoroughly? No. Will everyone that thinks they understand it like it? No. Will there be some folks who say, I'm going elsewhere? Yes, and we will love them and bid them heaven speed. Will there be a very small, minute percentage of folks that are loud and boisterous and extremely negative? Unfortunately, I've already seen one. I love him. I like the guy. He said some damning things, and I'm not cussing. I said to him, hey, why don't you call? I will make sure that I can get you in touch with Jay Joshua. He posted his phone number. He posted his email address. He responded back to me, I'm not talking to the bastard. Are people going to be, there's going to be a few people like that. And you know what you got to do? Mama, I wasn't cussing when I said that. I'm just saying what he said. You know what you got to do, Queen, in those instances, as difficult as it is, because sometimes you just want to, you want to defend.
Yeah, you love them and let them go.
You know what you got to do? You got to love them. And sometimes to say, just let them deal with it. I'm not even going to engage. Now, I will say this, and I'll have to close to get to my son's graduation. The spirit that we have operated as a team when it comes to things like Skype chat rooms, Facebook chat rooms, and things of that nature, is that people can congregate there. They can assist each other. And there may be some challenges, but we deal with those challenges positively. I would say to you that if you're in a Skype chat room and you are, now I can tell you, I have someone that is monitoring a Skype chat room that basically my buddy Corey Crabb, he set it up, King Facebook as I like to call him. He's the monitor of that chat room. And he and Dave Kaninsky and I can go in there. I don't normally do monitoring stuff, but I go in there. And might be a couple others that can maybe delete a comment if it's inappropriate or so on and so forth. Okay. In that Skype chat room, no poisonous, negative information will be tolerated. We'll love you, but we'll have to kick you out that chat room. So if you're looking for a chat room that is supportive, you believe in the Jubi message, sure, you don't like change no more than I like change, but wait a minute, now you got some hope that maybe you didn't hear before, and you want to be a part of a good Skype chat room that has positive energy. Even though we may have to deal with challenges, we'll deal with them positively. If you're not already a part of that Skype chat room, then you can Skype me. My Skype ID is GIF-PM, and say, Tieleman, I want to be in a very positive Skype chat room. If you're in a Skype chat room right now, and there's some things that are really negative being said, some poisonous things being said, opt out of the Skype chat room. You don't need that. You don't need that negative. Just opt out. Don't go in a back and forth and back banter with someone. We don't need that. We need to, Queen, one of my buddies, I just found out that his girl took a fall and almost died. Thank goodness she made it through, but she's been through a lot of surgeries, what have you. My youngest son, who's about to graduate, and I got to go in a few moments, got a little girlfriend. He's in puppy love, Queen. Kiera is his puppy love. Last Sunday night, was it Sunday? Yeah, Sunday night. My 15-year young son said, Dad, do you want to go see Iron Man 3? I don't want to go see it, but hey, it's my son, sure. He says, I'd like for my girlfriend Kiera to come. And I'm thinking, you want me to go with you and your girlfriend? Man, that may never happen again. He said, I said, you want me to sit beside you? You want me to sit between you and Kiera? He said, no. Just, but I want you to come, because I like the movie. We'll sit on one side and, you don't sit right where I can see. I said, the Queen, he's 15. I'm like, I may never get that other opportunity again. He's asking Dad to come, right? All right, so the movie starts at 10:20. We missed the earlier one. It starts at 10:20. And I told my son, call Kiera or text Kiera and tell her that we're at the subway. She was being dropped off. We're at the subway. And he says, okay, she just pulled up. All right. 5 minutes goes by. 10 minutes goes by. Where is she, Joshua? Man, it's time for the movie. I don't know. I don't know. She didn't text me. I don't know. And I was like, man, we got stood up, man. It's not you just got stood up. I got stood up. I didn't want to watch the movie. I just came because my son said, Dad, do you want to come with me? And I figured I better take advantage of this. And then he got a text.
She was in an accident.
He said, Dad, Kiera. Okay. Tell Mama I'm on my way. Tell Mama tell Mama I'm coming. He said, Dad. He broke out in tears, Queen. This just happened Sunday night. He broke out in tears. He said Kiera's dad just got killed in a car accident.
Oh, my God.
Excuse me. Because obviously my son, my seed was hurt. I don't know. I've never met Kiera. She's called the house a couple of times. My heart went out to her. I remember when I lost my best friend in the car accident. He said, Dad, Kiera's dad just died. That's why Kiera left. That's why she never met us. She got to the movies, and before she got to us, she got the message. She and her older sister that her dad had been killed in a car accident.
Wow.
So, Queen, I'm going to tell you this: life is too short to deal with negative and what have you. I like some of the things I've seen in some of the Skype chat rooms, it's disappointed me. I've been surprised, but I love the people and I like the folks. I'm just saying, don't stick around negative people. One of my mentors, and I'll close with this, just closed his eyes a few months ago, Otis Lockett. He was once my pastor. I learned so much from him. He says, never stay where you're just tolerated. Surround yourself with people where you're celebrated. Never stay where you're just tolerated. Surround yourself with people where you are celebrated. So this is what I will say in closing to you, my friends. T. Lamont Silver Sr. is not going anywhere. What we started out a couple years ago, we knew there was going to be an evolution. We want to be there when the company gets it right. I'm seeing a company that is working to make sure it's right. I do not want to make the same mistake I made in 2002 when I was with a company, didn't understand some changes they made, left. 2.5 years later, I was still doing very well. But my buddy who stayed the course was making 10 times what I was making on a monthly basis. Completely changed.
Actually, more than 10
life.
times through the month.
Yeah, more than 10 times. Thank you for that. I appreciate you saying that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't get a chance to get the questions and answers today. I'm going to my son's graduation. JubiRev Training.com. JubiRevTraining.com is where Mr. President will be camped out tonight at 9 p.m. So if you've got some questions, maybe some questions I didn't see or couldn't get to, you got some questions for him, come to that webinar, JubiRevTraining.com at 9 p.m. I will try to be on there, Queen, but I can't promise that I'll be back in time to be on that webinar. Tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, we will be right back here at at our webinar, this particular webinar link, and then we'll be back at the same webinar link again at 7 o'clock. What I just did today, I'm going to do tomorrow at 12. What I just did today, I'm going to do tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's designed so people have a better understanding of what went on behind the scenes and where we are going so that you can make your independent choice as to, hey, am I Jubi, or am I doing something else, or am I doing Jubi and something else? That's totally up to you. Either way, just know I love you, and we want to see you win. No matter where you win, we want to see you win. We'd love to see you win with us here at Jubi. Whether you make that choice or not, that's totally up to you. I'll respect whatever choice it is you make. With that being said, we love each and every one of you. Let's change the world together, starting with yours. Going to graduation, ladies and gentlemen.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Tell TJ congratulations.
Actually, it's Joshua.
Oh, tell Joshua.
Graduated, you know, everybody having graduated from kindergarten last week. Joshua graduates from middle school today. So here we go. I'm going, okay? Thanks, guys.
Congratulations, Joshua.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, and thanks, guys, for your prayers and thoughts for Kiara and her family. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
So that's it for now. If you have any questions, please get back to the person that shared this video with you, or you can send a support ticket from your JubiRev back office. Thank you. We look forward to hearing of your success.